Hey team, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to survive if you lose your job. Anytime a job loss happens, it's a majorly stressful event that can throw your finances, your personal life, and your emotions into complete turmoil. So how do you survive and get back to the point where you can thrive again? I want to tell you what you can do to mitigate the pain that happens in a job loss, how to have a plan for recovery, and how to come out of this situation ahead. I've been through it myself. I understand exactly what it feels like and what it can really do to your psyche. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming to hit you. Let's jump right in. I'm Frank Cho, and I'm here to help you live a richer, more abundant life. Sometimes in our journey, we face some pretty big obstacles, and a job loss can be one of the biggest that we're going to face. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the plan to get you back on track. So, first things first, we need to understand what costs we can adjust during a period of unemployment. Let's take a look.
What I'm going to show you is not what I recommend you do in your normal day-to-day life. If you're working and planning for your future, that's not this. This is your emergency, break the glass, pull the alarm, what I do in a dire circumstance. So what I want to introduce to you is a 4-tier system to evaluate your expenses and then also income and income opportunities. So let me jump on the screen here and show you what I'm talking about. So here, this is what I will call tier 1. So when you're evaluating your expenses for things to cut or to keep, tier 1 is essential. These are the things that you have to have for your day-to-day, and without these, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. The first thing I put on tier 1 as essential is child support. If you have kids and you pay child support, it's very important that you find a way to pay this or reach out early in the process after being laid off to communicate that that's the situation and try and get some kind of deferral. If you don't pay your child support, your wages will get garnished in the future, and it can even lead to you back in court and create a lot of problems. Prioritize this if you do have kids and you're in this situation. Mortgage and rent, we're going to think about this, 3 critical things that you have to have: food, shelter, clothing, right? So shelter, your mortgage or rent is going to be vital for you to at least have a base camp to be able to get yourself back on your feet. So if you're in a really dire circumstance and have to downsize or move in with someone else, okay, but keep this as a critical item. You've got to have some place that you can stay. You can't get back on your feet fully until you have that secured. Next, food. I say food next because you have to have it to sustain yourself. If you aren't functioning, you can't find your next opportunity and get yourself back in place. I put that even above these next ones, your utilities, because there's some leeway there where they can work with you or they won't shut off the power immediately if you're running a little late. But if you're not taking care of your body physically and staying nourished, then you can get sick, which can put you into an even worse spot. So make that a priority. And then here I list off your utilities: water, sewer, gas, electric, trash, just to keep you going and to, again, provide as part of that sort of blanket for shelter. And finally, I include internet on here as essential because it's essential for you to be able to job hunt, it's essential for you to communicate, and it's going to be essential for you to maintain and improve your skill set while you're in an unemployed period. So all of these are what I would call tier 1 essential. Next, I would say tier 2 is the important items. So these are going to be important for you in your day-to-day life, but the reason they're not essential is because they have more flexibility. So car insurance, I put here at the top. If you're going to be driving, it's a requirement that you maintain car insurance, right? It's illegal for you not to. So that has to be a priority. If you have a vehicle and you're driving, that's going to be critical. The rest of these, I have them here because if you don't pay these things, it's going to impact your credit. So that's why they're important. In the most dire of circumstances, forget your credit. Doesn't matter. Stay alive. But if you've got your essentials, your food and your shelter covered, then worry about these. If you have a car and you have a car payment, if you have other debts and you have debt obligations, whether it's a credit card, loan, whatever, make sure you keep them paid. This doesn't mean you have to pay above the minimum. It doesn't mean you have to pay in advance. Just keep the minimum paid so you don't ruin your credit and put yourself further behind.
Let me tell you a quick story. My first job out of college was working as a loan officer. And in the job, not only did I write loans, but I also had to deal with collections, going to bankruptcy court, and filing judgments. And I hated that part of the job. When you have a lender that you're working with, the people that work there are people too, and they don't want to make it harder for you. They know what it's like to be in that situation, and the majority of the time, these people are going to be really empathetic with you. But you have to communicate. This is the thing that gets people hung up, is they think, oh, if I just dodge their phone calls, it will go away. But they can't use any of the tools at their disposal to help you if they don't know the situation. So if you get behind, communicate with your lender, especially now. There's so many programs available where they can do a deferment, or maybe they can refinance for you, or do some kind of adjustment to your loan. They want to help, and they have tools available, but unless you communicate with them, they can't do anything for you. There's payment plans. They can do payment reductions or interest-only payments. There are options, and you don't want to wait until you're 30 or 60 or 90 days late on a payment. Get on top of it. Get a program set up. You can even totally avoid having negative impacts to your credit score by being on top of it, being proactive, explaining your situation, and getting a plan set up.
I include also in this list your cell phone, because it's almost like a utility, and it's also important for you to be able to have phone calls for job interviews, phone screenings, to be able to communicate. It's going to be important. Again, not essential in an emergency, true emergency sense, but critical here in that further development. So keep it in important. An HOA, if you have one, you want to stay on top of that, because if you don't pay your HOA, they can put a lien on your property, and that can be difficult to clear. And then finally, gas for your transportation if you're going anywhere. The next tier 3, is what I call nice. If you've got these other things covered, if you have the room in your budget, things personal care and fitness, I think are still important for you, especially for your well-being. But what I'm saying here is you got to trim it back. You're not going to the salon or the barber or to get your nails done or things like that. Those have to come back. If you're unemployed for an extended period of time, I think it's probably okay to go splurge once on something like that, because you have to keep your state of mind up. And if you're going out on interviews and things like that, you need to be able to have a presentable, good appearance. Fitness, if this is going to be an extended period, I would say cut out the gym membership, all those sorts of extra things. So again, nice to have if you have enough of a little bit of wiggle room there.
Make sure you're taking the time for your physical well-being, whether that's taking a walk or going for a run, doing a set of push-ups, or if you have weights at home, lifting some weights. Just those things that keep your mood elevated. Stay on top of your mental health. This is so critical, because so many of us associate our worth with our career. It gets drilled into us from a very young age that you are what you achieve. And when that career is in jeopardy, or when you have to take a step back, or when you lose a job or an opportunity, it makes you feel less than. And you can't feel that way and then go into interviews and pursue a new opportunity in that mindset. You've got to have a clear head and an open mind to what's out there in the future. Don't let a single failure define the next period of your life.
Finally, I say totally eliminate from your budget Tier 4 in the event of an emergency. Remember, only in this emergency situation where you're laid off, stop saving for your retirement. It doesn't help you right now. Putting that money away for 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 15 years from now, it's not going to help keep food on the table right now. Defer it. You can come back to it when you get back on your feet and employed again. But if you're out of work for 2, 3, 4, 6 months, it's not a priority. Same thing with college savings for your kids. I think it's something you should prioritize when things are normal. In an emergency, cut it off, keep food in their mouths for now, and then come back to it once you're back on your feet. Entertainment, keep it to a minimum. I think you can eliminate most forms of entertainment. If you've kept internet on your Tier 1, you have a pretty bounteous supply of free entertainment, whether it's videos like this on YouTube or if you have other services out there that you like to tune into, or Reddit or whatever. Clothing, you should have at least enough clothing to get by. I would say clothing is a really non-essential purchase. If you have to choose between eating and buying a new shirt, I would say stick with food as being the essential thing. The one exception I might say to this is if you need something for an interview, basic, just like a shirt or blouse or something like that, to be presentable to get that next job, I would say it's fine, but keep it to an absolute minimum there. And then finally, travel. Don't travel when you're in a dire financial situation. Unless it's for a family emergency, cut that out, and then you can pick it back up once you're back into a more comfortable position. Next, I'm going to say on income, you have a very similar breakout to where there's 4 tiers of income that you would want to consider here. So I'm going to start with what I call Tier 1 income, so wage income, getting you back into a job that can provide a steady source of income. Now, if you can be self-employed and dictate your own schedule and run a business successfully, that's fantastic, and more power to you. But here, for getting back on your feet after a layoff, finding a quality job that you can do that fits your skills, that I think is going to be the most important thing. So that's what you want to prioritize. But sometimes those jobs don't come up, the search isn't going well, so then you need to look to these other tiers to find supplemental income in the interim. So that's when I would say Tier 2, this would be your side gigs, the more kind of side hustle things that we think of, whether that's driving for Uber or delivering for Uber Eats or DoorDash, or walking your neighbor's dog, or babysitting, or any of these little things that will just get some money in the door so that you have something. Physical work that you can go out and do that brings in a little bit of money. Tier 3, I would say sell things. What you have that you can sell, whether it's listing it on eBay, or if it's having a garage sale, listing things on Facebook Marketplace, things like that. It's not desirable, and that's why it's Tier 3, but if it gets down to that point, you might have to do it if you have an extra vehicle or anything like that.
Let's pause for a second just so I can remind you, throughout all of this, don't get discouraged. It's so easy to just get your soul crushed when you lose a job. You've invested your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and things have gone the other way. Sometimes it's just totally outside of your control, like what we've seen with the pandemic. It's not the end of the world, and you can get through it. Don't let this setback be the thing that defines you. You're better than this situation, and you have an opportunity to overcome it, and you will. I have faith in you.
And then finally, Tier 4 is what I call absolute emergency. This is when you start raiding the coffers. When you're at your absolute lowest and you have no other source to turn to, this would be borrowing from retirement, borrowing from friends and family, running up a credit card, getting an extra loan if it's available to you. These are your last resort. Don't do them unless you must. But keep in the back of your mind, it is out there if you have to take advantage of it, but don't do it unless you really need to.
The one thing you don't want to do in a period of unemployment is to stop investing in yourself. Now, you may not have the funds for things that are expensive, but there's lots of free resources out there for you to continue to learn and grow, whether it's videos like this on YouTube, taking advantage of your local library, or some of the free apps that are out there. Sign up for a free trial for Audible or for Kindle Unlimited. Take advantage of these. Use that time to continue to grow your knowledge. Practice interviewing. Keep updating your resume. Reach out to people within your network to learn from them and to keep those connections alive, because you never know when that next job opportunity might open up. They may know someone or some role that's going to be the perfect fit for you. But if you go inward too much and get depressed and don't continue to push forward, you're going to find it so much harder to restart. So you've got to continue that forward momentum. So even if you're not getting interviews and you're not getting a role that you really want, keep pushing forward.
The overarching theme I want to get across here is that your mindset has to shift. It's not going to be the same priorities as your normal life. It's in many cases going to be totally flipped backwards. Like the fact that I'm saying to just stop saving for your retirement. That's something I would never say in an ordinary situation. That's what I would prioritize. But this isn't a normal situation. Being laid off is the most unnormal thing that can happen to you. So just remember, this is for that period of time in your life only. Once you get back on your feet, back into a job that's going to cover your normal expenses, get right back into the cycle of saving, right back into the cycle of investing, and right back on track. Don't stay in this emergency mindset, but shift back to your normal pattern and prioritize having an emergency fund. If you can start with a good emergency fund, this process becomes a lot easier because it takes a lot of that pressure off. This is why it's always encouraged that you have an emergency fund available. But we might not start out at that spot, or it's small and we don't have the ability to make it last longer than a couple weeks or a month or whatever. So once you're back on your feet, replenish your emergency fund, pay back any debt that you've had to take out during this period, and get yourself squared away so that you can continue to move forward.
Another really critically important thing is don't give up on your long-term goals, your hopes, your dreams. Just because you have a short-term setback doesn't mean that you're not going to attain your long-term goals. I can't reiterate this enough. When I had a career in front of me right out of college and I got laid off, I was crushed and I didn't know what I was going to do. But I found a job selling cars and it didn't pay much. I was earning about $4 an hour based on the number of hours that I was working there. But being there at a really slow time when the economy was hurting, it gave me a chance to study for the GMAT so that I could get into business school. And then it's there that I really learned a lot more about finance, and it gave me this opportunity to move into the corporate finance career, improve my knowledge about personal finance, and it's how I'm here sharing what I've learned with you. So don't give up that long-term dream. Do you have to make some adjustments? Yeah, but it's okay to pivot. It's not okay to call it quits. So keep pushing forward, believe in yourself, and learn from the journey. If this kind of content is helpful for you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and leave a note for me in the comments. What is really going to help you improve your financial life, and how I can help bring out the topics that are going to be most beneficial for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.